Welcome to episode 12 of the podcast. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 12. Wasn't actually going to make this yet. I have to do this topic because it just came to mind. I've been reminded of the topic of nostalgia again, and this time it's about the Yogscast, of all people. So earlier this year they started, was it last year? I think it was last year actually. They started this series called Jaffa Factory 2. If you ever grew up on that, you'd realise essentially Jaffa Factory 2 means a sequel of Jaffa Factory 1, but they didn't call it 1 back in the day, obviously, because they didn't expect to make another. So they've made a second one now, over 10 years later, and it's pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. It's really entertaining, it's more of the same thing really, but it seems to be a bit more complex this time, more organised, which is interesting. The only problem is that it doesn't use a specific mod pack, I don't think. It just seems to be whatever Harry has created, Harry Berry. Yeah, but again, I can't really complain that much, and they've been trying to get some more Minecraft content on the main channel with the likes of Blonde on a Clock Tower, which is actually pretty good. And there's also Two Booms in a Room, which wasn't as well received, and to be honest, I don't find it as entertaining, but it's still alright. It sort of goes into fucking sorry. It goes to the discussion of nostalgia. Like people are watching the Yogscast now after having watched them many years ago and saying, "This ain't the Yogscast I knew." And shut the fuck up. They may not be the Yogscast you remembered from childhood. They definitely aren't for me either. And I've been a fan since, I'd say 2011 or 2012 maybe. Roughly the time I got into Minecraft and stuff, and TF2 even for that matter. And yeah, like they were good. I really liked them. They certainly weren't perfect back then, definitely as people, because believe it or not, most people don't remember, but they were actually kind of controversial, to be honest. I remember there being occasional political discussions. There's also that thing with Notch, the thing with York Ventures, and yeah, they're not perfect. What a lot of people seem to forget in nostalgia is there are equal, often opposite downsides to this, and I don't think this is really any different in all honesty. You know, they also had sort of well-known predators in their group, unfortunately. There's a few of two, but there was also a third one. There's also like big sort of in-house drama with, let's see, Lewis and his relationship with Hannah. Yeah, that's pretty much all sort of gone and done really at this point. Of course, most of us probably do miss those days back then when there was genuinely a lot of great content, a lot of entertaining stuff. And I actually watched more like listened to the Ogpod like a few months ago. You know, I listened to something while I take a dump, thanks to IBD. Me and Seaman. Yeah, me and Seaman like two peas on a pod, I guess. In that sense, I know he has IBS. But, like, that's a way to pass the time, and the podcast is definitely unique. But it didn't age very well. That's one of the first things I noticed. You know, those casually throwing out a hard R, and the Simon casually dropping an F word even though it's referring to the food. Yeah, it's not worrying, but you know, that's the products of the time. Unfortunately, my daughter's dead. Anyway, so it sort of leads into like where they moved on. If I had to say the era they moved on, it was when they moved to their second office, I think. Because their first office was okay, I think, but it wasn't perfect. There's a lot of memories from that, from like Jingle Jam and stuff, and yeah, looking back on it was kind of fun. But they moved on, and that's when things started to change. And this is where the Ox sort of made their attempt to basically a second boom, but actually what ended up happening is they ended up keeping a fan base that they've accumulated who were interested in them as people. And unfortunately I wasn't one of them for a long time, but eventually I came around to it. I was wondering why there's like so many Trouble in Terrorist Town videos, and I looked into it, I was like, oh, that's just really fun. And so I was pretty much hooked on whatever the Yogs put out since then. It was like 2018 or something. But this sort of ties into that topic. Again, people complaining about there not being enough nostalgia these days. Like, they're not doing the things that people want them to, but they're not your slaves. That's the most important thing to acknowledge here. Making a criticism for it, sure. I can't really say that you're wrong to say that. But the most important thing here is that you acknowledge them as people. Because I think if you don't do that, you just fail. You're not doing the right thing. And where they are as people now actually is far better than where they were a few years, like not a few years, a decade ago. In all honesty, the place is reasonably well run, from what I could tell. The office is well run as well. Like, there's so many good things going for the Yogscast at the moment that people don't seem to realise. And one of my personal favourite things is they are pretty much a pro human rights group, believe it or not. It's not really that obvious unless you like hang around their live streams and obviously watch the videos where they're talking more. But you do, or even like the clip channels and stuff, you do see it in there sometimes. And even the charities and stuff they do for Jingle Jam. But they are very much pro-human rights, and it's really interesting because this essentially means they're on the side of humanity. So, of course we need to treat them like humans, and they're actually, I consider them like one of the British national treasures because they're that fucking amazing as people, as a group. They have great synergy together whenever you see them in the live stream or even just the videos. The video editing is also amazing across all the channels. But it's so, like, enheartening, is that a word? Enheartening? It's always good to see. And the Yogs are one of those channels I don't think I'll ever really get bored of watching. Because, yeah, and what Simon was missing from most of the time, it still, like, it didn't really feel empty. No offense to Simon, I love Simon, but it never felt empty without him. I definitely noticed that he wasn't there, but everyone else again has such good synergy with each other. They just sort of worked, and that's what makes them great people as well. Them being nice people, they're being open to stuff. Like, I've seen people open to like vegan food and stuff, and even the nationalities of people. But they're like very accepting of this, and it's genuinely amazing. There's not really any other gaming group that does this, and that's what sets them apart from others. This is why I've been a Yorks fan all these years. It's so disappointing when you get fans that come up basically with the Tory bullshit, because they're all usually Tories, and they talk about nostalgia and saying they wish it could go back to the way it was. Like, no, I don't. Like, the past is definitely one of those gems, but it's not necessarily one we should bring back. There are very good reasons why. There are very good reasons to not really give a shit about it anymore. You know, the Yogs Ventures stuff was quite damaging already to the reputation of the Yogs, and whilst nothing was actually done about it, unfortunately, it became a good meme for a while. I think it still is. But you've got so many great memes that have come from this modern era, which people don't even seem to take notice of. And it's thanks to things like the Jingle Jam and even recently the Camp York stuff, which I really enjoyed. They did one last year and it wasn't great, but this year it was amazing. But fuck it hell. I forgot the name of the clown, but that clown was hilarious. I can't remember if there was a cooking stream. There was a cooking stream last year. It was really fun. What was that Jingle Jam? I can't remember, but there were some really fun streams like that. But they're basically good the way they are. So I don't understand where people are coming from when they say that this ain't the Yogscast they grew up with. Well, no, you grew up with them supposedly, but if you've stayed stuck in your own ways, being like selfish and thinking, yeah, I only want them to play Minecraft for the rest of their lives, of course you're not going to enjoy them. Again, it's like stupidly selfish. It's just absolute absurdity. So I don't really understand where that argument comes from. And this sort of brings up a recent topic of the next series that came out, Yogscast 2. I didn't really watch much Yogscast, which was interesting. Don't remember too much from it. I just remember it's kind of like a chaotic sort of mod showcase, and they seem to be doing a similar sort of formula. But this time there is a bit of humour here and there, a bit more even. Yeah, but it does show kind of a worrying trend in my opinion, where it is kind of like, yeah, we're going back to this sort of nostalgic thing that people remember. Because they already did the Java Factory 2, but they're doing Yogscast 2 now. Which is weird, I'm not gonna lie. But it is one way to sort of break the mould and also give some leeway to like people who are involved in the Yogscast. Like, if you got Harry working on Yogscast 2 alongside I can't remember the Minecrafter's name, the person. I think they're called Guybrush. But they're working on the Yogscast 2 stuff, which is really interesting. It talks about how they got door working and stuff, which is good. And yeah, I like the first 2 episodes so far. It's definitely got a way to go, I think, before it can get even better, in all honesty. But yeah, I'm not sure if I like it, like appealing to the nostalgia sort of approach. Because whilst this will certainly make their channel boom, and again, it may not necessarily attract the right people. And I've already seen this problem with the just the Yogs and social media in general, where they just attract a lot of absolute idiots. Again, Tories, let's just call them for what they are. But they attract a lot of them on these posts, and these are like, there can even be live streams about Pride and stuff, and you get idiots in the comments just doing the usual bigotry, and it's just shitty. Like, I kind of wish they were moderated in a sense, but at the same time, is it censoring free speech? I think only if it's like violent, it really shouldn't be there. But it does sort of demoralise people, so I'm not sure about it from that perspective. Yeah, I think I've talked enough about this, but that's essentially it. Like, nostalgia has its place, but it should stay in the past. As much as I'm happy these series are coming out again, second time around, might even mean another one, it's not exactly ideal. Because it somewhat disconnects you from the Yogs themselves. I think the reason why Java Factory 2 is on Duncan's channel is because Duncan is mainly like a Minecraft YouTuber anyway. And his avatar literally changed from an image that Nina made to his Minecraft head. And yeah, it's got sort of telling of that. And I think the other reason is it probably would give his channel more attention as like I guess a revenue split. So it's not really much of a criticism. But yeah, Jeff Factory 2 is great because it does feel like a podcast sometimes. A bit like the GTA stuff used to be. It's always interesting. But I don't know. The Yogscast 2 is obviously very different. It's definitely a bit less focused on that. So yeah, it's just want to talk about that really. get that off my chest. I prefer the Yogs now, and that's what I was going to say. I almost commented it, but I'm going to say it here. I'd rather have good people and mediocre content than good content and mediocre people. Because in this day and age, you need to be satisfied with less, because at the moment AI is coming after even these jobs. Who knows, they might even make an entire Yog Labs with AI. Not the Yogs, I mean, but AI in general, like people will make it, which sucks. So that's one of the dangers, and we need to appreciate the stuff whilst it's still here, really, and the people. Because you never know what will happen in the future. AI is a very fucking scary thing at the moment. So you never know. But yeah, I prefer mediocre content over mediocre people. Simply put. So, did I say that right? Sometimes I keep doubting myself there. I'm pretty sure people understand what I mean by it. Yeah, I'm at the moment satisfied with where the Yorks are. There's nothing to really complain about. I'm pretty sure I made a video on this a while ago. There's like no problem. They're decent people, and that's literally all I can ask for in a channel now. It almost doesn't matter what people make, it's just, again, decent people is better than content. Yeah, let's move on. I just discovered another good thing about my headphones, and also sort of small update, I guess, some Melomania P100s by Cambridge Audio. Very good. They're still good so far. I haven't had any issues other than the cable thing still. It rubs against me, and I've had to shorten the cable length just to stop the rubbing, because it makes a weird sound whenever I sort of rub against it, like a bassy sound. I think it's a bit less than that. I don't know what that is. It's not doing it now. It's odd. It used to. But I did find something else. I had to use noise cancelling recently, and it's because of fireworks outside. And it kind of works. It works pretty well in terms of distant things, as usual. But if it's kind of close, it does sort of work. It sort of doesn't. But I have had a glitchy thing with it as well, which is weird. So with the fireworks, it basically makes a big, bassy popping sound turn into like a... Like, you know when you move something against your face or something, it makes a sort of rubbing sound. It sounds like that, but just in brief seconds, windows and stuff. It's far better than the loudness of fireworks, which for me with sensitive hearing is quite good. It's definitely a good feature to have, and that means it'll probably stop some more percussive sounds. I do sort of wish it did more, though, to stop that entirely. But yeah, it works, and it does sort of... It doesn't really block out close range stuff, which is the only thing. I think the problem with noise cancelling is it can either only work with close range or long range. So this one seems to be long range, so it blocks out those noises farther away, as opposed to close, where it would have been more ideal. So I'll tell you the ratio of... let me double check this though, so on. So the ratio... say close range, it blocks my voice, my clicking, by about 30%, I'd say, if you want like a percentage, and I'd say long distance is about 75%, which is still pretty effective, in all honesty. It's just my rough guess. Let me turn it back to normal. But it works for sure. I can't complain too much. It's a bit better than the heavies. Actually, that's the other thing. The heavies had a problem where when you turned it on, it increased the volume by 100%. Like literally. So it became 200% volume. which fucking sucks. I do not want that. That's shitty. As much as I want to block out the noise, increasing the volume isn't going to help that. It's going to make me worse. So I never used it as a result, and if I did, I had to turn it down through like my keyboard as a volume slider thing. Yeah, it sucked in that sense, but these, for some reason, for literally, well, feels like the first time ever, was maybe second time actually, my weird £30 headphones actually for my bedtime, they actually sort of do the same thing, they noise cancel at the same rate. But yeah, basically it doesn't increase the volume, which is unusual. It seems to be a heavies issue, I think, so that could be why. I definitely like that it blocks out enough sound to begin with. It's certainly better than nothing. But that does lead on to the weird issue with it. There's a glitchiness in its process, I don't know what's going on there. It's very weird. So, when I was using it, I kept hearing the same sounds. And it's quite obvious when fireworks were being blocked, because obviously you don't really hear it as much, again, 75% rate. But it's hard to determine whether fireworks were actually going off, because there was an issue. I kept hearing that same rubbing sound, and it definitely wasn't the headphones, because I'm not hearing it now. You know, I'm moving my head, hear a slight sound, but nothing too big. But I was hearing that consistently when the fireworks had stopped. So I spent like almost an hour listening to this, thinking, oh, surely they have to stop, like the fireworks. And I took them off briefly, had a listen, and they had stopped. So I'm fucking confused. What gives? Why the hell? Just so confused about that. I have no idea what happened there. I don't know what the strange bopping sound is, or popping, rubbing, whatever you call it. It's so bizarre. That's been the only issue with it so far, I think. Other than the reduced sort of rate, I guess. I'd rather if it was like 90% blocking out sound. It's probably my comfort zone. Easier for me to sleep as well. I don't know. It's just a small update on the headphones, I guess. They're working as it should, which is good. No issues, which is again quite rare. For this price, honestly, it's hoping they last this long. That's probably the most I could ask for. Anyway, probably move on. So I've had a terrible day, but I'll try to make this. I did a trend. Not really a trend actually, technically speaking, but like, people do it anyway. Do. I'm talking about this idea of making your childhood classic. Pretty much your go-to childhood meal. And it's different for a lot of people, because I had a lot of weird ones I liked, and a lot of normal ones I liked. You know, speaking like grandma sausage casserole was always fucking great. So I managed to make that plant-based now. These are normal ones, by the way, but there's also the one I'm going to talk about. I'll talk about that after. What was the other thing I liked? Oh yeah, like, because I was very open-minded to vegetarian food even back then, when I was a picky, fussy child. And I liked vegetarian bolognese. It was good. I preferred it over the meat one because it's like less sort of meaty tasting. Which really enough I preferred. I don't really understand why though, because technically the meat was tastier, but I just still liked just the vegetarian one. And I consider it a completely normal meal in all honesty. So that was nice. However, the other thing, there was also another vegetarian dish that I really liked. That happened to be scallops. Well, the corn ones, because they still do them, but they're not vegan, as you know. And they're nice. You used to have them with, I think, mash as well, and something else. I can't remember what. But those were pretty much good. Oh, cheese and tomato pasta bake as well with chicken dippers. Yeah, that was goated. I used to have that after swimming lessons every Saturday, which is good. But now we get into the weird one. I think it's only one, luckily. Let's say one. I used to have eggs and toast every Sunday. It's somewhat easy to make, at least for my mum. I wish I had learned to cook it instead, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying my mum's a bad cook, actually, she's really good. And she cooked them fine, but I just feel like a cunt, really, for not cooking that myself when it's so easy to do. And she cooked them perfectly, almost never crispy, and they're always sort of whitish. I'm not sure how to really say it, actually. But basically, it's never too fried, and the top was perfectly done, the yolk. I love the runny yolk. And the running yolk. Everything yolk. And that was no exception, really. But it was great. But the twist of where it gets weird is I had a combination of sauces. On top of it being buttered toast with it, I used to add tomato ketchup and brown sauce and a mystery third sauce. Nobody would ever guess the third sauce. But it actually worked very well together. And it's a weird combination. I don't know how I even discovered. But it's kind of like, oh shit, this actually is really nice. The third sauce is burger sauce. Yeah, like, what the fuck? But it does kind of make sense. If you think about it, all these flavours and combinations, they do sort of work together. You know, brown sauce already goes well with eggs, and so does ketchup. But the burger sauce already goes with tomato. It doesn't exactly go with brown sauce, but it does sort of work with the egg and the toast as well. So it's weird, but it's definitely one of the weirdest dishes I ever had, and I did try recreating it with like a vegan burger sauce. Not the same, even with like an egg alternative like tofu or scrambled tofu. Pretty sure I did it with scrambled tofu. But yeah, it wasn't the same. But then we get onto the final normal dish, which I tried to replicate, and I'll explain about that. Garlic chicken, cheesy mash with plum tomatoes, actually. Yeah, it was plum tomatoes. And what was the other thing? No, not burger sauce, curry sauce. Actually, a really rare one from Tesco, which is pretty much called mild curry sauce, and for some reason it's disappeared off the face of the earth and the internet. It's like this curry sauce with a mild tangy taste and a really nice texture as well. It's very kind of lumpy, so it never really fell apart. It wasn't like a proper sauce, it was like, I don't know, not sure how to describe it. Not jelly, it's not a relish, but it definitely had a weird texture for what it was. But it's very nice, and I remember it having milk in, so it's definitely at least vegetarian. I don't think it had any meat in or anything. But again, it's a rare find. Now, what's so weird about it is it seems to have disappeared. So there's like no way to find out what sort of ingredients they used or how they made it. It also didn't really taste much like curry sauce anyway, which I didn't mind because it actually tasted good. But to describe it, it's like it looks like the colour of korma, I guess, Indian korma. So yeah, that colour and weird texture. Was it pasty texture? It's more like it actually, like toothpaste sort of texture. But a bit more sort of ragged, like, oh, I was trying to think of the thing. It's not Angel of the Light I'm thinking of. I miss Angel of the Light. It's no vegan one, but it's somewhat like that texture. But it's more firm. It's really hard to describe. It's probably the hardest description of a texture ever. You literally can't describe it. I literally don't know anything like it. But anyway, I remade that dish and the sauce. I tried to. And it sort of worked. We'll say it tasted better in areas, but also not as good. And I had to make do with the things that I got. I did prepare for this over a while, but yeah. Firstly, I used new potatoes, or is it new or baby potatoes? One of them. I used one of them for the potato stuff, and it sort of worked. Also, the cheesy mash is often made with butter, milk, and Cathedral City mature. It's like one of the best mashes ever. Literally, and it was always so creamy as well. I used to like do like this volcano thing with it, with tomato stuff. And like whenever I got the mash anyway, and off dishes I did the same thing. So I treated it like a volcano, but yeah, I managed to sort of make that texture sort of. I thought I mashed it properly, but it turned out it's still lumpy. So that wasn't very pleasant. But I can't really change that after I made it. I also served it up. So that went that idea. But it was still okay. I did a plant-based Cathedral City, got flora, salted butter. I think it's salted anyway. If it's unsalted. Added Outage, black pepper, and tandoori curry powder. That's it. I add curry powder to it to give it an extra tang, and it does sort of work. I also added garlic powder and mustard powder, and it sort of works. Like, it's not the best tasting mash I've ever had. Also, still go to ordinary cheesy mash I had back then. But it's still decent. I can't really complain that much. And then, to do anything else? No, I left the skins on the potatoes. That probably had a bit of a difference to it. But I only leave them on for fibre, and it didn't agree with my body for some reason. All the tomatoes that I had with it, which were chopped tomatoes, I don't know what happened there. It could also be the third thing, which is the curry sauce. So yeah, the mash wasn't a very big success, in my opinion. But the curry sauce I made with the Mayflower medium curry sauce mix, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. And I like that stuff. It tastes like chip shop curry sauce, so it's not too similar to the one I had as Chaltwants, but technically it did turn out slightly similar. I remember it had a tang, this curry sauce. Like, for some reason I can still remember the taste. And I wasn't trying to replicate it like, piece by piece, but I tried to make it from like a logical perspective rather than that. But I added a bit of ketchup and a bit of oat milk and some garlic powder. Tried to thicken it, and it just stayed liquid. So it sort of failed there. Taste wise, it was okay. I didn't really find it that good though, overall. It's like just the fact that it's too liquidy and runny, and it didn't really taste like I remembered obviously that other curry sauce tasting like. So that kind of sucked, in all honesty. So yeah, that's a bit disappointing, because that's sometimes the best bit of it. Having that on your garlic chicken, which is the last thing, was really nice. Yeah, it didn't work. But then I did the garlic chicken, or tried to. In a pan I cooked a cube of garlic and some butters, and I did some chives and parsley to sort of thicken it. And that did sort of work to an extent. I probably needed herbs. That was the only thing missing, which I sort of wish I remembered to add, because that would have been the seasoning basically for the garlic chicken. I'm pretty sure there's probably pepper and maybe even a southern fried taste, now I think about it. It probably had some of those spices in it. It does. That's weird. But for the vegan chicken itself, I did two things. The first one was Linda McCartney vegan chicken dippers. They're quite nice. I don't remember trying them before. I think they're new, but they're definitely nice. I wouldn't say amazing. The best ones I actually ever tried were M&S Plant Kitchen. They're pretty good a while ago, the refrigerated ones. For some reason, extremely nice, like it tasted like actual chicken nuggets. So that was that really, but the other thing I did with it was, specifically for this topping, I did try the topping of both, it kind of works. But I did Moving Mountains chicken burger, because that was all I had. That's weird, I thought I had a Tesco thing. Oh, okay, that's weird, I swear I had like Tesco Southern Fried or something. I don't know why I'm only just remembering that. Anyway, it tasted really nice, the chicken burger itself, and the topping on it also helped a lot, made it taste really nice. But it didn't taste like the garlic chicken I knew, obviously, but it's kind of nicer. Yeah, it tasted like actual chicken burger, which was crazy. Yes, usually with alternatives it's like a 50-50. You either get something that tastes good, or maybe like 40-40-20 maybe. But you get 40% chance it sucks, don't taste like the thing it's supposed to, 5% chance it tastes nice but isn't exactly like the thing it's supposed to be, and a 20% chance for it to be actually exactly like the thing it's supposed to be. Which can actually happen, that's why I consider it a 20% chance. I've had consistently found products taste like what they're trying to imitate. But anyway, I made that. I made the garlic chicken, put the stuff on top, spread it. Yeah, it turned out really nice. I'm surprised by it. Overall though, not a massive success. So probably won't do that again for a while. Trying to think on what else could I make? I tried a cheese and tomato pasta bake with dippers before. Didn't turn out great because there's no vegan alternative for the sauce, because the sauce was really what made it. You know, you just put it in with some boiling water in a oven safe dish with some pasta, and it would cook through in the oven. That's why it's called pasta bake, which is interesting. And you did get the crispy bits on top every now and then, but it wasn't that bad. I think you could chew through it. But it didn't turn out amazing when I tried it a year ago or so. So yeah, it's definitely been some interesting dishes, and I haven't really found vegan scallops. Like, they are vegan Kievs, but that's not the same thing. Maybe you could do something like that though. You just put some cheese inside mid-cooking it. You know, dissect it, do not a circumcision, what the fuck? Why do I circumcise a Kiev anyway? I do a cesarean, let's say. Let's do a cesarean on a fucking Kiev and stick some cheese in there. And that baby's gonna come out nice. Fuck's sake. Oh, God, I better stop talking. God knows. Yeah, that's just me sort of experimenting. I'm always kind of experimental with this stuff. I discovered that, a fun fact actually, it's sort of, you know, the pickle stuff, I forgot what it's called, sandwich pickle? There's stuff that Branston's make, but Stokes also do one as well. It goes perfectly well with cheeseburgers, like surprisingly so, because relish is already like pickled stuff, but somehow this pickled stuff goes even better. It's stronger. It replaces the sauce, definitely, so you don't need a sauce of it, but holy shit, that is next level stuff. It's surprising. Oh god, this tank is taking hits in the game. That's crazy. You're a mad lad. Okay, that's interesting. Anyway, better move on to another topic. Not sure what I'm going to talk about next. There's been a few things that happened. Probably won't talk about the ice thing, where people are now chasing ice through the streets in their cars, which is kind of funny, because that's probably the thing they're most scared of. Just being held accountable and having people like run away from them. It's fucking funny. It's usually like really sort of unfit men anyway doing it. So yeah, let's move on. So I want to talk about something interesting, take my mind off the world at the moment. Jesus Christ, the world's in turmoil again. But there are worlds that are probably far worse off. Smooth. I want to talk about the worst anime I've ever seen. And there's actually 3 here because I find that they're often very sort of divisive in that sense because people like them, but some people just absolutely hate them, which in some cases I completely understand. But mine are quite weird because these are typically animes that people liked, and there are some honorable mentions, I think, if I can remember them. But the first one, I'd have to say, is Kill Me Baby. Now, I watched this on a recommendation. I think it's called Kill Me Baby anyway, I could be wrong, I'll describe the plot, so just in case. I was recommended it as a comedy show, but what I got instead felt extremely disturbing. Because it was about someone who was feeling supposedly suicidal, which, okay, as a concept, so, okay, I guess it's normal in that case. No, it's not. But this person turned out to also want other things, and in a concerning way that is, because I think it's a she anyway, but she's basically quote unquote unattractive girl, like in general, and people didn't want to date her, so she was always looking for a partner, supposedly. Because she couldn't find one, she didn't exactly feel like she wanted to be around, which is already itself a disturbing premise. But it gets even weirder when you take into the fact that she was also a complete weirdo, basically a masochist, which is extremely disturbing. Like, as much as the cartoon, you could get away with stuff like that, I don't find it funny. And it gets even weirder, and this is why I've stopped watching it, is when she wants to be raped. I'm not even joking. She literally said that. She literally fantasized about it in this show, which is, again, just really fucking disturbing. I don't know how anyone got away with that. Like, Jesus, I guess you need a show for something, but at least for to appease some people, because there's probably someone out there who likes it I do. Others, I don't see how they would like it. So that's one I immediately stopped watching, because it's like, okay, that's disturbing, fuck that. But then there's another show, which is luckily not as disturbing. I'm trying to remember the ones that I actually picked. Yeah, I'll say this one first, because the next one is actually kind of disturbing in a way. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and the normal. I'll just put both there because I tried both. I fucking hate this series. It's just so bad. The first few episodes are atrocious. I just couldn't get into it. And whilst it seemed like a cool idea at first, it just didn't hit me really. It failed on all fronts. So I just didn't like it. And it's bizarre because, you know, you probably could like it, but no, it just didn't do it for me. I didn't find it very interesting, I didn't find it very action oriented. Didn't really like the characters either. I think the characters were probably one of the worst things, I would say. But I just didn't like it overall, and that really sucks because people do like it. It's one of those series that I've heard a lot about, and heard it's got that, you know, usual anime sort of good side, dark side sort of thing. And it seemed like it had a sense of humour, but I didn't find it that funny. And there's also something about the animation style that kind of left me a bit like, eh, no, I'm not a fan of this. So that made me just not want to watch it after the first 3 episodes, and I tried to watch the first original ones 3 times. And all 3 times I just gave up. I didn't have the patience for it, I didn't have the attention span. Fuck it. It literally was garbo. It's just so bad. I genuinely don't understand it. So, that went that idea. God, I'm trying to carry someone in Final Fantasy 14 here. So, yeah, it just got very weird. Jesus, I don't know what's going on here. People are dying. That's Full Metal Alchemist. I didn't like it. I tried Brotherhood later on. Same story. Even though it looked different, it just felt the same to me. It just felt like the same shit. Couldn't get on with it. Didn't bother. But is it worse than this next one? Yeah, actually it is. So the next one is Tokyo Ghoul. I'm pretty sure it's Tokyo Ghoul. I could have maybe remembered it wrong. But the story basically revolves around this city or something of country even filled with ghouls, and they have to hide under the shadows of darkness to basically stay safe, but they have to eat people to survive. And there is this interesting part about eating people who committed suicide off this cliff, which is very bizarre. They have this like cutesy anime story as well associated with like a guy interested in a girl just trying to get into a relationship. It's just very bizarre, and that wasn't the part I didn't like really. It just felt like a very incomplete story over time, and it didn't feel like it really told anything. It didn't say anything. It just had those interesting lore bits, and that was it. Nothing else happened. So I don't know. It's such a weird series as well. I don't remember it being very fan servicey, which is I suppose the only thing going for it. But still, I do not like it. And the other thing that really got me with that is the fucking awful intro music. Who the hell sung that? It just sounds like a balloon or something. Like just that sound that you make when you squeeze a balloon's hole. I don't know what it is actually. With the entry thing, and it just makes that squeaky sound. That's what the voice sounded like to me. It was so bad on that, on those intros, and the other intros just didn't work, in all honesty. Now, the animation I think was okay, but the characters weren't. There was always that issue because of the story, because, yeah, it didn't have any story basically. And so it's a very bizarre case of, yeah, the show didn't really work for me. It just wasn't doing anything. But I stuck through because I was curious, because it had a, well, quote unquote, vegan message. And yeah, it did kind of. It's about if people become ghouls or vampires or whatever, start having to eat people to survive. Yeah, I just didn't get along with that. But I don't think there's actually any like honourable mentions here. It's just weird because I thought I had some. I might remember if I look through stuff. Through my stuff, like reviews or whatever. But I don't know. It's such a weird scenario. I can't remember if there's any other show. I'm trying to think. Pokemon Journeys? Yeah, I think it's Pokemon Journeys. The Gen 8 one, Sword and Shield. I fucking hated it. It had a few good episodes, but it was awful. I don't like it. It didn't feel like Pokemon to me, and after what was a great series like Gen 7, it is baffling how they came so low like that. Like, what happens? How did you fuck up this badly? It makes no sense. So I don't know what happened there. Like they changed the writers or something crazy? Like, why would you do that? It's fine the way it was. Are you kidding me? So that rubbed me the wrong way, naturally. Yeah, so Pokemon Journey is not good. They had a good episode, one of my favourite episodes ever actually, on TV. With that advert, was it episode 27? Was it 35, 28? I can't remember, but it's like this advert for noodles basically. It's a really good episode. It's just so bizarre. It's a good change of pace. The characters weren't good. I remember that. But yeah, it's just a disappointment. It's unbelievable how bad it was. I couldn't quite believe it myself. But anyway, that's some bad anime shows. Jesus, there's a long way to go, I think. Yeah, let's move on. So, one of the interesting topics I spoke about recently, I think, is mainly when I started doing this podcast, actually. I talked about Black Mirror episodes, possibilities, predictions, and ideas. And given that I'm on season 4, episode 3 already, I don't know if any of them will come true. Because I think the ideas are very rooted in what I believe. And to be fair, that's basically what the show is. Like, it predicts a lot of really horrific things that can happen in the world. No doubt. And that's what I've pretty much done as well. So it's interesting. I basically wanted to talk about an episode idea I'm working on, and I've started working it today. It's actually taken one day to write it entirely, and maybe it took too much time, I think. But it's coming along nicely, and I've made some adjustments here and there. I made some notes on my phone, just going through the day. It certainly helps, I think. Yeah, I think it'll turn out pretty good actually if people are interested in that. But I'm only going to release a outline story rather than a full written story, and that's because it takes a lot of time to write things. Well, I don't know how I used to write fanfiction. That's a mystery to me. I think it's because I repeated a lot of the same shit. But if I was to do something quality, then yeah, that'll take weeks to months. So no, I will not do that. But the outline at least does show like the basic premise of the movie episode. Imagine if it was a Black Mirror movie. Be like, oh, you're all in a simulation. Goodbye. No, but I think this episode idea is actually really fascinating because I've had to think about everything, like the little details, the entire reason behind the story, the entire purpose of it. And I've also answered some questions. I've also added a unique perspective on this as well. Yeah, basically got a gay couple as, well, two of the main characters anyway, but there's technically only one main character. And as you can tell, it's dystopian. And there's of course a bad ending, which is pretty much a trend for Black Mirror for the most part. So it's interesting. I do look forward to sort of releasing and getting thoughts on it. I don't plan on adjusting it after the fact because, again, it's like, yeah, and it's actually a surprisingly dark episode, all things considered. That's the thing that's kind of crazy about it as well. Well, the entire premise is based on an ultra dystopian horror, basically. And it's also just an ultra capitalist horror, I might as well mention that. So it is quite creepy. Yeah, you really do not know what people are up to, especially people with lots of money and, well, an agenda, which is really important to know as well. It doesn't relate to LGBTQ+, thankfully, but one of my other ideas actually involves that to an extent. It's basically like perfect transition or something, and that being monetized. So it's not like, oh, you got dysphoria, well, transition, but no, instead they'll force it on people, like they'll kidnap people and basically take them hostage to sell their bodies when they transition. It's like a really dystopian thing. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it anyway. The episode I'm going to make, which I was making it, is a really important episode to me, just personally and in general. Because it also demonstrates a danger in how these things can be approached by corporations. You know, it discusses exploitation, it discusses moral boundaries and stuff. It's quite complex convoys. I don't know, I have to wait and see really. And that's for everyone else to judge. I might make a video on that. I don't know. But anyway, let's move on. I don't understand why this is still up for debate for some reason. People seem to think boycotts don't work, but they actually do. We've just seen another example. Yeah, apparently in the UK, Nestle are cutting 16,000 jobs. And that's amid, again, the boycott. According to the Middle East Eye, the channel I saw this on. Yeah, it's definitely good news for the most part, not the job losing part, but then again, you're complicit in this shit. Yeah, there are cases where you probably shouldn't have to support these companies by working for them. That's pretty much a no-brainer. Anyway, the annoying thing with this sort of discussion is people just turn their brains off. Just as a whole when it comes to the discussion of a boycott. Because gamers have suggested this for ages. And people bring up a stupid example of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare boycott, which famously nobody followed it. There's just a screenshot of the group, which we don't even know if it was actually about the boycott. People playing it. So it's like, okay. But there's still questionable evidence behind this. But boycotts do work, and people who say they don't, ironically, makes up the majority. And if those people realise that you could all boycott together, suddenly you'd be able to have an impact. You'd be able to stop shitty games from happening. You might even shut down bad companies. They might even shut down EA, for example, if people actually come together and boycott it. But Jesus Christ, I don't even know why this is still a discussion at the end of the day. Because boycotts have always existed, as far as I know, like hundreds of years ago. And people just need to stand up for what's right. And stop prioritising their own fucking selfish garbage. It's just... it's terrible. There's so many things that a boycott can do. And if you want to stop something like a genocide, which apparently was happening with Nestle, they were genociding people or something. That's what I heard. Could be wrong. Then that's what has to be done. You have to boycott them. Otherwise you just let this go out of hand and you keep them perpetuating that complete garbage. So yeah, you do really need to get this sort of working. You need to get a boycott working and make sure that we're doing the right thing as humanity, because as I said earlier, I think, I'm pretty sure I did anyway, maybe I didn't include it, I'm not sure, but I talked about how paving the way for the future is very important, because at the moment we're in an era where we're unsure about everything, and everything's still relatively new to us, even technology. So it'll take time to grasp the entire sort of spectrum of tech. So we definitely need to be more careful with our decisions, but the worst thing we could do in that situation is literally throw away like the future generations' lives just for the sake of sick sensory pleasure in the present time. It's stupidly selfish. And then they have to pick up the pieces, they have to suffer for it. Which, yeah, is exactly selfish because you're causing their hell. But it's extremely dumb. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. As usual, though, people just need to fucking listen. That's all it takes. This is what people are saying. If there is a boycott about something that you agree with, you're obligated to do that boycott as well. It's just really stupid not to. That's why I haven't played a Pokemon game since Sword and Shield. That's why I don't even pay for subscriptions anymore. It's just fucking pointless. Everything's taking my money and I don't have enough money to give. So that's where I'm at. And that's where a lot of people are at. That's why you turn to these things. There's actually not a single way in the world at the moment where we can actually support a lot of these things that are just coming at us. It's absolutely absurd, and we don't want monopolies away from capitalism, because that will destroy the planet, literally. And one of the things I actually saw thought about recently, after sort of writing a Black Mirror episode idea, I actually thought about a really terrifying idea, where once a monopoly is in charge, they take over government, they then take over the country, and they become the driving force behind it, like a military, and basically force products everywhere, like force people into work to make what they're making, they want them to make even. Basically just doing all their jobs and trading with the world with that. I guess it's like a bit like the border incident in the Black Mirror episode. So it's like an influence of a product. So yeah, but also like in a bizarre turn of events, like there's a military as well. And the military's incompetent, but they've got tons of people behind it. And so when they invade a country, it's like, oh, what the fuck is this? And all holding like yellow and pink guns or something. And it's like really dystopian. And this country's just being absolutely devastated by them. But also it could be a case of another monopoly in another country takes over and it's like, okay, you're at war with them as well. Like that's how bad it could get. And that's probably what they want, let's be honest. So that's why you do boycotts. You stop this shit from happening before it can get worse. Yeah. So here's a stupid One Piece theory that may not actually be true. I think I tried to talk about it in my review, but I've realised something else with it, if I have. So when Luffy gets his Gear 5 awakening, supposedly, the one thing I notice, and he's consistently wearing it anyway, he's always wearing the straw hat. What if that's responsible for his awakening? And probably the other gears. Because I'm wondering what the hell is the importance in the straw hat itself. Because Shanks entrusted it to him. Shanks didn't want to interact with him during Wano. And yeah, it's like Shanks is keeping his distance from Luffy for a reason. And I think the reason maybe is that he knows that Luffy is basically a god now. As in Nika, as a sun god. And the Vero could be wrong on that, but maybe Shanks is looking for a fight rather than the One Piece. And he has the observation hockey to even see into the future, so he knows not to pick a fight with Luffy. So that's something he's trying to get the upper hand with, I guess, and maybe it'll be the final battle in One Piece, like who knows. It's still got to go through Emu, that's how you say it, Imu. I put Imu, because Emu reminds me of Timu, which is annoying. But yeah, other than the battle with Imu, it'll probably be the battle with Shanks. Because let's be honest, that's been waiting since Luffy started his journey. And no doubt they've been waiting to fight, just to see how strong they've gotten. And it would be one of the wholesome ways to sort of do it, but I do wonder if there's actually a different motive. Like, what if the Straw Hat is the One Piece in the end? What if that is the case? Also, was Shanks wearing it? Shanks during Goldie Roger. Was Shanks even wearing something like that back then? No, I can't see anything. I can't see if he was. Not sure. This is an image of Phil Smith eating. Shanks revealed how he joined the crew of Pirate King Goldie Roger. There's Goldie Roger holding his hand. I'm not sure. But I swear there was a scene during the Marie Joie. Is it the Celestial Dragon's place? There was a scene there where there was the bunch of relics in there, and I think the Straw Hat was one of them. So I'm not sure exactly what that was. It is very interesting that that's there, because it obviously has some significance. You know, given that there are many styles of hats and better hat choices as well, this means that it was probably a relic of the past. So it again supports the point that this hat could very well have awakened Joy Boy. And maybe that's what it was. I couldn't imagine Shanks with it, in all honesty. Jesus, imagine Shanks awoken as Joy Boy. Might be fucking cursed, just be beer and swords, I guess. And he might grow back as On, but that's another story. I can't really think of anything else, to be honest. Really, the Straw Hat is still a very mysterious thing which hasn't really been touched on in a long time. And it was supposedly damaged once, and then repaired. And that's it. That's all the lore we had on it. So, I do not actually understand like what the significance is. It's very bizarre. I'm trying to figure that out myself. Because if it's not a hat that's eating the devil fruit, which is, again, one of the weird things that One Piece has, it's still one of the most bizarre things I've seen in it. The fact that a gun can eat a devil fruit. It's just what. I suppose you can extract it, put it into like the framework and stuff. But Jesus Christ. I do think that it is something really important still. I have speculated before, and that was probably in the video, that the Straw Hat was a story device where it actually brings everyone together and creates a story. It's like the one thing laying out the groundwork for everyone. And that's basically his role, is to get from point A to point Z, essentially. But that's the only other theory I have on it. It's weird how the Straw Hat isn't discussed that much in the community itself. Given that it was shown again in Marie's War, and they somehow want Luffy or something to do, which I don't know, like they want him because he's a problematic figure now because of Nika, but probably because of the Straw Hat as well, which very well could have awakened it. I don't know. It does seem very odd to me. I do think it is responsible for the awakening. Maybe it's a way to revive someone. Who knows? There's so many different things it could be. Because the only reason I don't think the rubber fruit was actually responsible for the awakening is because of what we already seen Luffy do with it. It didn't bring him back to life, not necessarily. That's not been proven. Also, if it had the powers of the gods, and that was truly its awakening, why the hell is it doing two things? Well, it made him into a god, and it made him extra bouncy. But the third thing at work there was the fact they just turned everything into cartoons. So if the theory isn't that the hat has some big significance, then I don't know. That's the thing that's confusing me about it. Still, was really fascinating. And it's definitely interesting. That's why One Piece is my favourite show of all time now. It's just so much detail. It's absolutely insane. And also I found like one of the only major flaws in it recently through another video about the poneglyphs. Oda didn't seem to have created a language with the poneglyphs, which is interesting. So none of them actually translate to anything, which is annoying. That's frustrating. Maybe they'll fix it in the Netflix, hopefully. That's actually something we could probably look forward to in that. That'll be really interesting for the anime as well, because they'll just alter so many things. And we finally find the poneglyph in Skypiea, which no doubt will be season 3 or so, maybe even season 4. And it'll probably reveal some details about the anime that we're waiting for, manga, whatever. Yeah, there's always a chance to fix that, thanks to, again, Netflix. And who knows, maybe, I don't know if this media have done anything about it, if they've like done something about it, like remade that bit. I don't know, it's just a few One Piece stuff, a few discussions. Yeah, let's move on. Shocking absolutely no one, I hope. There has been a UK-wide internet outage, and this is primarily because of one service. Amazon Web Service. Yeah, what the fuck? So I didn't even know they had a web service. I'm not sure if it's the same as an internet provider. But judging by the looks of it, they host the servers at least for a lot of things. And it means that there's a lot of issues here, just fundamentally. And if I was to go to Amazon now, for example, okay, it works, but probably get an error at some point. But this shows a massive issue with this entire monopolistic idea of owning everything and then controlling everything. Because it means that stuff like this will happen, and especially if it's like government specific as well. Like this will just happen more and more. Especially as the world gets more sick and the more disgruntled, like you'll see these issues more commonly. So having everything on a single fucking thing, a single server, whatever's doing this, is going to lead to issues. Because that's what happens. And if you don't have a backup, then you're pretty much fucked. Something devastating could happen where suddenly everything is deleted, all your accounts, and suddenly you have nothing. So you have a massive economic crisis on your hands, on top of that. Especially if you don't back up, or at least if you don't back up everything. So there's a reason why you need to treat everyone equally, especially in this economy and this society. Because people will turn on you, even your own employees, and they'll let shit like this happen. They're willing to put things at risk. So if you've got like a security guy and you're paying them low, like minimum wage, as an example, you can expect that they'll do a half-assed job. because they're not being paid enough to care, and more importantly, they don't care enough to actually care about others in this case, because they're being badly affected. So why shouldn't everyone else be? And they probably want to sabotage the company anyway. You can't know that, obviously. But Jesus Christ, it's so bad. It makes no sense. Why is this even happening? Genuine question. It's 2025. AI is suddenly like the biggest thing, but somehow nobody's considered that hacks are still a thing. That people can potentially break down a network, and to be clear, it's not indicated that it is a sort of cyber attack, but it doesn't rule out the possibility. So far there's been no comment on it. And if it is a technical error, then boy, this is a big fucking technical error. I can't actually access certain apps anymore because of this. It's a massive fucking hiccup, regardless of what's happened. And again, it further proves the point. These monopolistic practices, where you have one internet service doing all this heavy lifting, will just backfire, like the back's bound to break. It's a sort of analogy there. And it's going to go wrong. It's going to require a lot of treatment, it's going to require a lot of solutions. So of course, it's going to fucking break at some point. So I've got to turn on the desk fan really warm. Jesus Christ, I don't understand this, or why is this happening still in 2025? Just so disappointing. Why? God, what a fucking mess though. And it's even worse if this is like a mobile network where people rely on this shit to communicate with people across the UK and maybe even the world. So you put people at risk and possibly lives as well, because this is probably what's needed for 999 and stuff. It's just baffling. So this means that there's going to be a lot of problems here, and I think companies that are responsible for this definitely need a lawsuit put against them for monopolistic practices, but also complete just utter garbage in terms of industry practice. Because let's be honest, the one company controlling everything is never a good thing. And if I'm not mistaken, like the Gov UK site's also down, so yeah, like you're causing issues regardless of what the problem is. It's all there, it's all the problem. The lack of commenting on it also doesn't help. Not giving anyone anything to go off of. So you're no doubt going to leave people in the dark, and you're going to leave them to speculate, which will then lead to issues like conspiracy theories. Or it could just lead to people thinking, yeah, this is obviously a hack, or it's obviously China or Russia. Fuck me. It literally makes zero sense. I don't know. Anyway, fuck Amazon. So, Black Mirror Season 4, Episode 3. In my opinion, it's the second weakest Black Mirror episode. But, actually it's the third. It's the third, I'd say. Because the one with the troll and stuff was interesting, but it wasn't that good. And then, I think the first ever episode, Season 1, wasn't the best one either. It definitely felt weak in that sense. But this episode, it has such a slow fucking build up. Jesus. You know that Mia's murdered someone alongside Rob and then disposed of the body. And she'll also be convicted of the crimes because, yeah, they've got that machine, as we later find out. But it's just a matter of, like, when. It's pretty crazy. So, it just sort of starts with that, and when we saw the insurance company trying to look at the memories so that they can check if there's actually a case. They started diving into more things because the claimant was not being able to produce a full memory for this memory machine, the thing that reads memories. So she investigates, and then down the line she finds someone else who happens to be Mia. So this lady, I probably should look at the name actually, now look at it, think about it. The episode's called Crocodile. I'm pretty sure she's the second character. Kieran. Yeah, she is, okay. Shazia? Don't know how to pronounce it. Call her Shazia then. But she's investigating this insurance stuff and comes across Mia, and Mia, from before this confrontation, basically finds Mia sort of not complicit but witness to the crime that she's investigating for the insurance. So the first thing I immediately noticed with the memory thing is it's basically the grain episode again, because it is literally the grain but temporary. You know, just put it on someone's head and read their memory. There's nothing to it. Like, this has already been done, which is kind of crazy to me. So it's a bit weird that they're repeating the same episode idea, in all honesty, which is why I think it's one of the weakest so far. Because the grain one was unique, and whilst I liked that episode, I do think this one's better in some ways. It's using it in like a true crime sense. And obviously it's not sort of focusing on the idea of like, oh, like I'm paranoid so I'm going to check your memories. It's more from a safety perspective, like that you're finding out if the claim is real, that sort of thing. I don't actually know much about insurance, believe it or not, because I'm not actually in charge of my own insurance. There's someone else deals with that. Not sure why though exactly. I think maybe because of a reading impairment could be the issue. Can't read loads of text. The autistic trait and just, I think even like a memory trait technically. Or skill. Muscle memory maybe. Yeah, that's probably it. But I wrote a few notes with this. I really liked, yeah, I've already spoken about that. I really liked the scene where Mia's memories were about to get read and she tried to rewrite the memories, which is interesting. I do think that was clever and it sort of worked, but the thing that I'm confused by is the memory that showed up was actually just like domestic abuse, and Mia immediately thought, oh, she saw the murder, but that wasn't exactly what happened other than the car accident. And then Mia, I think, clearly forgot to rewrite the car accident when that was sort of coming up. But that's it. That it didn't show anything else. It showed the dead body in the beginning. It showed the dented window. That's about it. Like, there wasn't actually anything wrong exactly. It was just a freak accident to Shazia, who I think portrays it as that as well. But Mia takes it the wrong way and thinks that she's been caught. So it's sort of like the Green episode in a way. It's like paranoia. Yeah. But that's crazy. I definitely felt a lot of intensity in that scene though. It's like she was getting everything else right and rewrote it pretty well. But I managed to fuck it up just right towards the end. And got the accident thing, which is fine. It's trying to recall if there was like a person there or something. I don't know. It's weird. It wasn't very clear what exactly happened there. Whether Shazia saw it or not. So I don't know. And there's the next part, which is chasing Shazia to a car. And Mia's like, I can't let you go. And Shazia's car doesn't start, which was an interesting detail because when we first saw Shazia after the first insurance claim, she was at a gas station, was it? And her car wouldn't stop. So is clearly having issues. And the car, of all places here, decided to not start, which is honestly kind of lazy writing, but somewhat necessary as well. It's hard to really say. It's not the biggest criticism of the episode. I do like the foreshadowing with the song from before the Mia visit. I know I won't ever let you go. And yeah, they had to. Anyway, Mia basically kidnaps Shazia, which I found weird. She dragged her out of the coal site and then tied her up and then put her back in the car and drove away. I'm very confused about that. It's very odd to me. So, that's a bit weird. So, I was confused. Like, what happened there exactly? There's a lack of clarity in this. Because you don't see Mia driving away in the car, you don't see her gagging Shazia, which is what she did. Trying to cover the murder of Rob, which I forgot to mention is why she's under suspicion. She murdered Rob in the hotel room where she witnessed the accident for the insurance claimant. Because she was standing at the window, supposedly panicking. Yeah. And then she memory reads Shazia, and I can't figure out if she found out that Shazia was cheating on her husband or something. Or that maybe her husband knows about something. Her husband knows where she went. I think that's probably what it was. That's what I was confused on. So, Mia, knowing the memory reading stuff, has to cover up her tracks, and she kills Shazia, then vomits outside the crime scene. What the fuck? Why? She literally vomits on the floor, and that's going to be traceable. So she's already left the tracks there, and she was already decent enough at covering her tracks. I was a bit confused with the Rob kill actually when she murdered him, because she took Rob to a car, supposedly in the hotel trolley thing, but somehow got away with it. Like, that wasn't suspicious to anyone that she's taken a trolley to a car, and we didn't see that part. So that was bad. Like, again, lack of clarity. When if you're directing this episode, you'd easily see that and think, okay, where the hell and how the hell? Well, how did you get Rob's body in there? So that confused the fuck out of me, unless she cut into pieces, but it wasn't shown in pieces, so yeah, it's very odd. Anyway, back to after Shazia, Mia decides to somehow manages to locate her husband's, Shazia's husband, and go to his place and kills him in the bathtub with 2 hits to the head with a hammer. He drowns to death anyway. If it wasn't from the concussion, it killed him, maybe. As Mia's leaving, she hears a baby and goes to confront the baby. And this is a really fucked up bit. You can probably guess what happens next. And it's only really confirmed after that she did kill the baby. You didn't see it. It's majorly fucked up. So, yeah, that was kind of shocking. Especially given the baby. Yeah, the baby is a weird aesthetically, like, has memories. It's just pretty nuts, as I said. And then I love the foreshadowing / irony. Then she goes to her son's play, is it? Or rehearsal thing? Not rehearsal, is it rehearsal? Duh. It's like a play, and he's singing in that. For some reason they're all dressed as like the mafia or something. I don't understand what that's about. You've got these kids in these mafia suits, and there's one with like a fucking Tommy gun. I was so confused about that. Didn't get what that was, but sure. I guess it works. So that was funny in a way, but also disturbing. So yeah. And then What's the next part? Oh yeah, the police do the investigation into the husband's death. Somehow they knew about it early. I don't know what happened there. Like, it seemed to happen the same day, but how the fuck did anyone know? You know, what the fuck happened there? You know, there wasn't any witness, I don't think, in that scene, so... Like, what? I'm extremely confused about that. So that didn't make much sense. But in a shock reveal, anyway, you get to see the police officer walking past a guinea pig, which was actually showed earlier in the episode. I forgot about that. But the guinea pig had witnessed pretty much most things, but witnessed Mia for sure. And so they hook Mia, not Mia, the guinea pig up to the machine, and yeah, the rest writes itself there. Because it's very self-explanatory. Then somehow they locate her at the play. She's in the audience with her husband. What's her son? But now she's completely fucked because she's been a complicit and witness to one murder and done 3 more murders within the span of like 24 hours. Which is pretty fucking crazy. It's a odd episode in that sense. There's a lot of questions still about this sort of thing, but the main gist of it is that it's kind of disturbing that people can read your memories and even learn your worst desires. But my biggest complaint by far is a lack of exploration with it, because it's supposed to read memories. Imagine if you could read dreams, the memories of dreams. Like, that would be insane, because you could recollect it for the most part. But the part that just feels so disappointing is that, well, there's many other things that, like, you've got people who can misuse it with. And, yeah. Like, it's so weird. Of all the things that they decided to do there, they went the true crime, not true crime, I don't know what you call it, crime route, and it was done well, except for the parts that weren't very clarified. And they could have even shown a montage at the end of like the parts in between, like how she got the trolley out, how she decided to get Shazia back into the car, her own car, and yeah, take her to that place and kill her. There's so many questions, and they didn't explore this. So, it's a okay episode. I wouldn't say it's bad, I wouldn't say it's great. So I'm very mixed on it. It's just frustrating, because it's basically the Grain episode again, but slightly different. Like, it's only slightly, it's not really like it is in that, where it's just part of your body. There's an external thing, more manual. Yeah. I don't know if the episode is worth watching, honestly. The build-up is too long, there's not enough going on, to be honest, like not enough clarity. So I'd have to say, nah. I don't really recommend it for once. That's probably a first from the series, from me personally. So yeah, that's that episode. Let's move on. Not sure if I've ever discussed this, but I might have mentioned it. But I think I need to repeat it. So, as you know, I'm a big One Piece fan, and it has problems. It's got a fair few, but I don't think they're really repairable now. And I think that's because it's just one of those things, really. It's one of those series where it's gone on for so long that anything bad that's done in the past is forgivable, as long as it changes in the present. And for the most part, it has. But there are 2 specific issues, maybe 3, that I have. And this is to do with the series as a whole and maybe the anime. Because there are some things that other anime do better, believe it or not, than One Piece. And so I'll briefly talk about that as best as I can. First big problem that could very well be improved. One Piece needs better women. And I don't mean this in the sense of they're not busted enough. No, it's nothing to do with that. I promise. It's actually to do with how they're portrayed. One of the worst things about early One Piece, and this is just undisputable, it's just a lack of powerful women. Because even though there was that one character, the Boycotts, is it Boycotts? I can't remember what the actual name of that thing is, that organisation. There's that one really masculine woman, who fought Zoro. And I think Zoro almost lost to her, which is fascinating. But I miss when characters were pretty much exaggerated to a great degree, like this one character. Since then, we haven't really got anyone like that. And the closest then is probably Yamato and Robin. Well, technically Yamato's transitioned, but for some reason everyone's kind of divided on that. So I'm not sure exactly. But Yamato technically was a woman. I'm not sure if that's fair to say though. So I'm really not sure about that. But it's kind of hard to say. You know, we even had characters in Wano besides Yamato who were somewhat strong as female characters, but not massively strong. We even had a Shinobi, was it? The Kozuki clan lady, who used to be very beautiful. It's one of the funniest jokes, honestly. But she can actually disintegrate stuff and age it like faster, and that's really powerful. But again, like compared to other Devil Fruit users, it's kind of like they just don't feel as spectacular, and that's one of the problems. They're with, I guess, Luffy at least. He's got his different forms. It's like Gear 1, Gear 2, Gear 3, and Gear 4. Wait, is he already in Gear 1? Okay, maybe I got that wrong. But he's got those different forms as a part of his Devil Fruit power. And he can even just turn himself big as well. Especially with Gear 5. But why the hell isn't there a female character that can do just that? I know Robin has done something like that, but she's not like portrayed as strong. The problem is there's a hierarchy in this series, and it's very obvious. Because when I see these big fights, you never see the female characters going off against the strongest men. So, let's say there's a fight in the future in One Piece where Luffy inevitably anyway has to go up against Akainu. But what if you made it Robin versus Akainu? Somehow she has to confront him and be extremely like careful as well, because that is dangerous. Like, why the hell couldn't they design Robin to be a bit stronger to even address someone like Akainu? Why isn't she on the terms of like Jinbei and even Zoro? Like, why isn't she as strong as them? It seriously doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it's still one of my biggest complaints. I just want a female character that is strong. Masculine maybe, but strong, definitely. It's just frustrating. But the next thing is interesting, and it's because I don't actually know if there are any like it. But there's no like confirmed gay characters. Because I know there's queer characters, also we've got trans women as well, trans man, and Ivankov, who can transition anyone and himself. I'm not sure if we have anyone non-binary. But we're lacking representation, the like relationship part. You know, well, the gay and romantic couples, like, romantic, I mean lesbian couples. It's disappointing that there isn't anything like that so far. even though we've seen straight couples like plenty of times. So I'm not sure what gives there exactly. But one of the things that could make it better is that, really. If you find out that there are people there who are very much openly gay or lesbian, or even just a background character, like, show some support. Like, even a background pirate character. Like, imagine if, on Butter the Mayor's ship or something, someone in his crew is gay and decides to ask someone out in the background. Well, that'd be amazing. I don't know. It's not hard to implement. I just think it's kind of hard to grasp, because I don't know what Oda's orientation is. Well, I kind of have an idea, to be honest. But it's not really hard to understand relationships. If you think of a straight couple, straight relationship, all you need to do is switch out the guy, and that's it, really. There isn't much difference. I saw this funny meme in also LGBT quite a few times, but it literally says that it addresses the homophobia in politics. People are saying that they want to ban gay marriage, and the image is basically saying that people want to ban this, and it's like an elderly gay couple just sitting in their armchairs, just reading and stuff. It's so silly, but that is exactly what it is. Like, that's a relationship. They're not glued to each other. It's definitely questionable, I guess. But there's no problem with gay marriage. So what people take issue with is just their own insecurities about it, not the actual marriages itself, relationships. It's really not hard to understand. It's kind of like, the way to really empathise this is to think of it like you would a relationship or crush or partner, and you'll find that it's very much possible to actually, like, if you switch genders around or whatever, like anything like that, you could just see it as plain as day. And on the saying is love is love. That's it. It's not complicated. There are reasons why people are gay, and it's not because they choose to. It's because they have to be. That's pretty much how you develop. It's the same way you develop an attraction to the opposite gender. So again, it makes no sense why there isn't a gay couple, even just as like side representation, or even just openly about it. And even someone male saying that, I've got my boyfriend at home though, but I became a pirate, so something like that. It definitely work, and I think people would appreciate it too, given the entire message of One Piece is about freedom. Where's the fucking freedom in cis heteronormativity even? That's what I'm trying to figure out. By the way, also it does oppose the government as well, because typically governments are homophobic as shit, regardless of what side they're on. It's quite common, not surprisingly, but yeah, you get what I mean, I'm pretty sure. But that does lead on to the final issue, which is a consistent one I've had, and actually there's a second thing I could add to this, is like a point two, or third, fourth point even. Less fan service. Oh Jesus, as much as I like Yamato as a character, why the fuck did you make him like this? Like, why? What technically is he referred to Oda? I can't remember. So apologies if I'm wrong there. It's still a bit iffy, I haven't looked at wiki pages. But yeah, like Yamato literally could have been toned down a ton, especially in that fucking hot tub scene, hot spring and hot tub, yeah. But Jesus Christ, I don't understand why they have to be so fan service and why there's such like everything, like massive boobs on every single female character. It's crazy. I'm struggling to understand that, in all honesty. It's something that doesn't really add to the show at all, and it can, in some cases, I guess, make people insecure. You know, there are people who think that having big breasts are certainly a way to attract people, even gain respect, but that's not the reality at all. In fact, it's much darker. It could have to be trauma, it could be abusive, it could be anything. There's a reason why people enlarge their breasts, but it's not good reasons. At least from what I understand it anyway. But you have people who are naturally born with large breasts. I believe it or not, I have real world experience with this with someone I used to know. She didn't have to cut me off. I'm just kidding. But I did know someone, and they didn't like it. Because it just caused so much pain, like back pain and even stress of like being around men and stuff. Like, it's horrible. And trying to encourage that is just kind of crappy, really. I don't like when shows over sexualise in that sense. And that's really the problem as well, just the over sexualisation of characters. There's even a case where Sanji is an absolute creep, and this is the other point I was going to bring up. There's actual creepiness in some of these moments in general. It's just, it doesn't work, and it's not something I really like to see, in all honesty. Not that I have a problem with big breasted characters, but I guess what I'm asking is for variety. And I want there to be a message there again, like about freedom, about being comfortable with whatever body you have, and as long as you're happy with it. Wait, maybe that's not a thing I meant to say. It's one of these fucking filters I have in my head. Just being happy with your body and comfortable with what you got is important, and that should be the message. They're not fucking massively breasted characters, especially with Carrot, who's underage, by the way. Why the hell does she have those? It makes zero fucking sense, and again, that's the creepiness and being overly fan servicey too. So it doesn't make any sense. Why? But it's weird, like, these three things involve, like, sexuality and gender. That's really because you can't criticise the other elements of the story, like the government stuff, the pirates. That's interesting. Yeah, everything else is just gold, really. But these parts are definitely, as I mentioned, are pretty shitty. Anyway, I better move on. That's just my thoughts on what could improve One Piece as well. Christ, isn't it ironic? Another bit of reform news. God, I fucking hate this political party. If it can even be called that, I'd rather call it a hate group instead. And a Trump fan group, basically. That's just probably the better term, Trump fan group. I'm trying to figure out I hate these fucking footballish things. They suck. Yeah, I get cold feet and hands for some reason. But there is a worrying trend in politics, as we know. People just seem to side with racism for whatever reason. And Reform have been consistently shown to be a racist party. You know, they essentially bootlick Trump, which is pretty much, he is racist. They are pretty sure have anti-immigration policies that specifically on skin colour and ethnicity, so that is racist. Yeah, and also that's the other thing, that they brand every single person of colour or also a different origin, country, ethnicity, I don't know what the actual term is. They brand everyone in the same category, and basically condemn them for those things and associating those things, ethnicity, colour, with every crime that they've ever done. And that is inherently racist, because that is discriminatory. You're using their ethnicity against them. And that's just terrible. That is actual racism. So, this recent post which came out, I saw this on Champagne Socialist TikTok, about a really interesting reform post, like something I wouldn't have even expected just happened, and it seems like they're losing voters and potential voters. Like, they're actually, I wouldn't be surprised if someone from their party was actually kind of listening to what I said, because it's kind of what I've been saying about the Green Party. They've been saying to use the opposite side's strategy to bring more to your side, and that's what Reform have just done. So they posted something celebrating Diwali. Let me check how to celebrate. Is it Diwali? It's an Indian holiday, Diwali, that's it. And yeah, as you can expect, the backlash, oh god, it's so fucking bad. Christ, people do not like it. Even though they like Indian food, they do not like Diwali. Diwali? I fucking forgot again. Diwali. Is it? Yeah, Diwali. Yeah, that was yesterday. Google was a nice little thingy there for that. Anyway. Yeah, it's just hilarious looking at, because this was obviously going to backfire, and if it wasn't a social experiment as well, then Jesus Christ, it's just hilarious anyway. The fact that a racist party is trying to win over voters by celebrating this, win over Indian voters for that matter. Yeah, it's obvious virtue signaling, not virtual. Technically it is virtual, but virtue signaling as a whole, and this is like almost a textbook example of what virtue signaling is. Because it's a party that's inherently against people of another ethnicity. This includes Indian people. So when they're posting something like this, they are lying about it. They are actually virtue signaling. It is also possible that someone hijacked social media to do this as a strategy, like actually hijacked the account and posted this, knowing that, okay, it seems innocent, so people who disagree with it will get mad and angry. I was called it mangry. Maybe that should be a new word. But yeah, they're literally calling it. Jesus, like, the response is kind of crazy. I haven't looked too far into it. I've seen what was in the short I watched. Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ, man. So people are angry, and obviously it's not going down well, but I'm very interested to see what will happen in the next polls. Like, will people essentially not vote Reform anymore and actually give votes to, unfortunately, Conservatives, or even someone else? I don't even know who they'd vote for at this point. I don't know, but it's just hilarious. Again, it's hard not to laugh at this, because it's just so fucking dumb and so, like, Jesus. It's frustrating as well. There's always that side to it, because you've got these inherently racist people, and it's annoying that this is becoming such a big issue for the world and this country as a whole, because it's just making it further more just unsafe, not because of the people that you think it's because of, but because of the people trying to encourage things like racism and anti-immigration. and for some reason child rape, because that's another thing that they're doing. Essentially, they're in the protests, you got molesters there, you got rapists, you got so many people, and at this point, really we should be investigating these people ourselves and taking them to court, but we should also expose the fact that a lot of the people who are voting, these basically policymakers and politicians, are on this side. They're advocating for the things that we dislike, the things that they're supposed to condemn. Like they talk about protecting women and children whilst also harming women and children. So it's obvious that they're trying to cover these things up. It's not out of fear, it's not out of anger. It's primarily out, well, it technically is fear actually, like the fear of being caught. Literally. So it's just disgusting. And that's literally what's happening here. I don't really know what else to say at this point. I'm not surprised, but either way, like who cares? It's a foreign holiday. Like you could be multicultural and whatnot. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Again, if this wasn't like virtue signaling or a social experiment, then I don't know. Either way, reform are fucked, and the Greens will win in the end. As what we're noticing, that's why they've reached 125 fucking thousand members. Jesus, like I only joined like a few days ago. Yeah, a few days ago. So it's kind of surprising. Yeah, people are still saying that they're irrelevant. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, if you lived under a rock recently, because it's probably a good idea to go outside and actually look. Because what the polls are saying is currently Green have overtaken Labour in the polls, and they're about to overtake Conservatives as well. So yeah, it's just insane. They're also going to win next election just by virtue of this, because we've also got like 4 fucking years to wait before you can even see another one. And currently, the way that everything stands, it seems like there's still room to improve, and this gives Greens a lot more sort of room to improve and get more noticeable. Not to mention the Dems might also get a chance again, finally. I don't know, have they actually ever been in power? I don't know if they actually have. So yeah, like, they could also get a chance as well. Even though they're not perfect by any means. It very well could mean that they get some recognition. And even then, if like something bad happens with any party at this point, it's anyone's game. Overall, that could be the best thing for it. I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong in the sense that if Green Party has something bad going on, then yeah, could mean the country's fucked, but we don't know yet. Either way, this self-sabotage from Reform definitely deserves an applause. But yeah, I need to read up on Diwali before I wish everyone a happy Diwali. So yeah, happy Diwali for whatever it implies. I'm not trying to be rude, just trying to be welcoming. Yeah, and happy fuck Reform. So Zesty just made another popular TF2 video. I said YouTube video. Gotta imagine. Another popular TF2 video, and once again it is a big criticism of TF2. I've been watching a few TF2 clips over the week, so maybe that's why I saw it. I enjoy these TF2 clips because they have like the goofiness of the game. Believe it or not, I never used to be a casual player in it. Within off as like a self player primarily. Yeah, that is weird. So I never really got that serious, but I still played it seriously, if that makes sense. But then I became a casual player when they introduced Meet Your Match, and it was alright. Meet Your Match was a terrible update, and this matchmaking system wasn't great. The thing with quick players, it's just simple, and you get put into any random map, even if you don't like it, it's still something to play. So it kind of backfires in a sense. But yeah, this video was talking about from Zesty, that's why not. Let's use an acronym for it. But they were talking about how they played the recent Halloween update, is it? And found that it's still buggy as fuck. The servers are still going down. There's apparently queue times, and there's still like issues where you join a match and it's already ending. Oh, what the fuck? Like somebody should have patched that long ago, before anything even became a problem. And the fact of joining matches when they've ended is absolutely ridiculous. When players are leaving to join the next match because it's quicker. That's just absurd. That's not gameplay, that's game time. There's a difference between playing a game and wasting your time on a game, which I'm like I'm doing now with Final Fantasy XIV in the background, so game time. But that's to get a good gameplay in there. So yeah, TF2 still sucks, and somehow everyone's even forgotten about the Save TF2 movement, because everybody only accepted the premise that the bots were the problem, but there were so many more problems with it. The crappy updates, the crappy cosmetics, the fact there are cosmetics to begin with, to basically be the entire update, and just the rapid influx of really unnecessary maps. And I think Zesty has put it well when he looked into the sort of workshop side of it and talking about the MVM update. But you need to pick things based on how they play rather than the thumbnail, the pretty thumbnail specifically. Yeah, that's really important. I did used to do some testing with an MVM friend of mine to test maps and stuff, and whilst my knowledge on it wasn't great, not good enough to even criticise, I still participated in it. Tested the maps, volunteered, and yeah, we could see some of the issues in those maps and other things. I remember one of them was like a alien sort of invasion map, I think, and we tried to figure out what the problem was, and it turns out when we got to the end and stuff, maybe I'm pushed back too far, it turned out there was no way to really get back up there, up to the top where there was obviously like higher and lower ground. So at the end it's like, okay, well, it's a good map, but this needs to change. And these maps need to be tested by exploiters specifically. Like, you need to hire someone to do this shit. There's already plenty of players out there with the knowledge of exploits. Not going to name names, and I actually also stopped watching one of them. Because frankly, I'm just a bit weirded out by the entire thing, realising, oh shit, me supporting this kind of adds to the problem. Still, Valve don't do anything, it's kind of like a hard balance to get. Yeah, the fact they're not even play tested and stuff, even when they're live, is like, what the fuck? I don't understand how TF2 has gotten this bad. As I said, the biggest barrier for entry is the economy just being so scummy. And I'd almost want a game where you can just outright buy the products that they're selling, or supposedly trading. It's so disappointing when you go to the new updates and like even then like ones that were just like a few months ago, and you look for like the latest weapon skin, you just want the latest weapon skin. You know, it's a pink grade, which is usually somewhere around £10 to £25, but suddenly for like minimal wear it's like £100. Are you fucking kidding me? It's just so bad. Like that monetization level should not be allowed. Not to mention the fact it has gambling to get it. Like, you literally need to gamble for this shit to get to that point of just getting these items. So it just doesn't make any sense. It just frustrates me as a player of war since 2011, I'd say. So yeah, like, so I've been playing it for over 10 years, accumulated 5,800 hours. It's extremely disappointing. And weirdly enough, I never used to be the type of player, and this is the other thing. Is this a juice mention? What the fuck is this thing up my arm? That feels weird. Not sure what that was. You're getting these weird sort of sensory hallucinations every now and then. Yeah, one of the other things I was mentioned was the fact that the community just stands by and lets this happen. When there's an error, when there's a big massive bug or an exploit, a lot of the community just accept it and let it happen, which is just extremely unusual, especially in today's climate of games. So I know back in the day it used to be kind of acceptable as something that you kind of expected to happen. Like the servers will go down, okay, might as well wait or just play without them. And nowadays it's like, okay, we've spent our money, we're struggling financially, we're struggling in real life. We really need a fucking game to work, to be happy, and when most games don't work anymore, when they're not fun or interesting, everyone turns to piracy, and they turn to basically ruining the game for others in the case of a multiplayer. That's what I did with GTA Online. Actually, I'm pretty sure I talked about this a lot. But I actually got a menu and started playing around with it in online, got banned 3 times, so 2 times on the main and then another on an alternate account. And yeah, like there's more fun with the fucking menu, which to me indicates a huge issue with the game, and I only used it to spawn in things. And that's it. So it's just absolutely insane how bad GTA Online was. Like the entire grind, the entire concept, and it's the same here in TF2. This is, I'm pretty sure, the reason behind the bots. It could be mistaken, but to me that's what it looks like. It looks very much like, okay, you fucked my time, so we'll fuck yours. That's not surprising, that's what's happened in GTA Online as well. I remember the reason that people do it. I remember confronting someone with a menu similar to mine before crashing their game out of revenge, because it's scummy. Because yeah, I've had the ability to do that, but I only did it to the ones who did this bullshit to begin with. And they basically said that they just hated the game. Just didn't like the grind and got bored. I also think there's something about it being fun to just bash on players, which is horrible. Yeah, it's deserved. But the game itself, yeah, it does deserve it. Especially when you're monetizing it when it's already popular enough to last you years, maybe even decades. Yeah, it has lasted a decade, by the way. You know, it didn't need this monetization to begin with, it didn't need shark cards. And TF2 doesn't need fucking loot crates anymore, let's be honest. Like, just fuck off with that shit. Free to play game, fine. Economy, getting into a grey area, a slippery slope. The microtransactions for a free to play game, that's acceptable. Like, honestly, couldn't complain about it. If it costs like £10 per unusual hat, I'd buy into it for sure. You know, pick whatever effect you want, as long as they don't do a stupid tier increase thing, because really appearance and attraction are subjective. Unless it's a femboy, then it's not, or a femboy furry. But you really can't put a price on that. It's really hard to define, because sometimes the pretty vibrant colours, which I definitely have a thing for, they end up being the most attractive. But that doesn't mean the others are not, because there are some that are not like that. You know, there's even like effects with just a little fucking star going around your head with barely anything going on, and that's suddenly like top tier. But then you have like silent, like I don't know what a recent effect is, like burning flames. It is a shit effect, but it's the most fucking expensive one, and that costs so much. Like, why? Like, it doesn't even look good. So why is it so subjective? It's insane. That's what I'm talking about when I say save TF2. And the economy needs to get its shit together. Stop being this absolute fucking cash grab. Especially in the terms of the economy. Where people are buying keys as a currency. By the way, that's how it works. And artificially pricing things based on what they think is the pricing. And you get people who play like TF2 capitalists, I guess, on Backpack.tf, where they put the pricing, and other places follow suit with that. They follow that to its core, really. And like, for example, there's like over, I think, 2,000 golden pounds in the world, and basically that shouldn't be priced as high as it is currently. You know, if I look now, like Backpack TF golden pan is no longer going to be the top one. Exchange golden pan. I'm not bot. Why the fuck are you asking me that? Come on, come on. Let's see, exist. What do these even represent? I'm confused. Well, are these the amount? That's the money. Okay, so it probably is the amount then? Okay, there it is actually, it's on the text below. Out of almost 10 million inventories, there are 457 known instances of this item. And somehow this is more expensive than a new unusual hat. Look, what the fuck? And you know what's crazy about this is you have a goofy ass knife that every class can use. And it's just as fun to use, by the way. And yet people want this crappy ass golden frying pan that turns people to gold. And you could just play fake spy. Like, the community itself, I think, is corrupt. It's literally the only thing I can think of when looking at this. Right here. Because there's no other reason you would fucking do this. It just makes no sense in the pricing. Like, it started pretty high and went down to 4,600 USD. Like, started at 5.2, I'll say. No, 5.3 actually. Went down to 4.6 at its lowest, and then from 2023 it's increased. Is there a further back one? No, okay. Man, like, what the fuck? It makes zero sense. I really don't know why that's even a thing. And that's just stayed steady since January 2025 at 5.6k US dollars. What's crazy about this is you can get a cheap electric vehicle for that price. And, you know, a while ago I actually made a suggestion for this, by the way. I suggested it be a few keys. I can't remember how many though, but I knew they shouldn't be this high. But it's so artificially just inflated, and it doesn't need to be, even back when it was first a thing. it's just an absolute cesspit of unnecessary monetization. If you've got this fucking robot hat with purple energy on this front page being suggested, that's just a listing. 55 keys, purple energy. And it's strange. Okay. But also the strange things I find a problem as well, and I haven't talked about as much. But it's so bizarre. Also, there's an all-cast unicorn hat with planets, which is 69 keys. What the fuck? Again, these prices are just stupid. Like, some of these suggestions just don't make sense. And, you know, some of these newer neutrals are better looking and everything else. Again, it makes 0 sense. Like, why the fuck is this even a thing? What was I going to talk about before that? I wish I could remember. Yeah, like, again, I'd pay good money just to buy them up front. It'd be like a sort of monthly thing, I guess. I'd just treat myself to an unusual hat from the Macro store. Not only would that give a lot of money, it also just solve the many problems with the economy. And yeah, and I think trading really should only be for maybe weapons, but as much as it'll stop like something like Marketplace TF or Scraps on TF, it's probably for the better, because these things, whilst convenient, I think it should just be limited. I don't see any benefit to this economy at the moment, and especially now, in this day and age where pretty much every place in the world, for the most part anyway, is struggling with a cost of living crisis. So why the fuck are we still having this problem? And if so, why isn't there just an option for people? You know, to just buy these hats, have them untradeable, ungiftable and stuff. Like, why isn't there just an option for that? I don't understand. And this isn't even going to like matchmaking issues and stuff, which itself is a problem. You get too many different types of players, and some that are just so toxic that it's just, I know, you feel like Britney Spears. I think Britney Spears made that song. Probably embarrassed myself and got that wrong. I've got a rhyme for long. Anyway. It's one of those games that I want to enjoy again. And I want to do well, and whilst addressing the bot crisis was a big thing, and definitely a good thing, they did it way too late, because I quit by that point. And even then, you've still got all these problems. And I think, again, Zesty Jesus put it the best way here. It's basically making TF2 go out with a whimper, rather than an ideal sunset sort of ending. It's a game that I have many memories from, and so I made friends with many people on there before I purged my friend list, because I just wasn't happy. It's one of those games that I do miss. Every time I see a clip of it, it's like, I wish I could play this, but I know it's not playable and it's not safe for me to play. The same that Genshin Impact isn't, because it has fucking gambling, and it's just a live service slop, basically. It's not fun. So yeah, it basically forces you to buy things, because you can't do anything in the game otherwise. Forces you to buy the Battle Pass, forces you to buy the Welkin, and even like the occasional gacha pull. Yeah, it's just atrocious. And not to mention you need to be up to date in that. Luckily TF2 you don't really need to. Oh my god. There have been moments where I considered selling my items again just to afford things in real life, but at this point it's not worth it, because if I do come back to the game I'll wish I had those items there. And even then, if the game dies and I lose those items, who cares? They just die with me, I suppose. They'll die on my account, or whatever. It just remained a really good past and of good times, mostly good times. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on this, on TF2 now. It's just so disappointing. Can't believe it. Anyway, I better move on to the next topic. So, Black Mirror Season 4, Episode 4. I think it's hard to say, but I do think it's the second weakest episode. Some of them have had 2 shitters in a row, which is interesting. But not necessarily shitters, but just not very strong episodes in that sense. Like there's dystopia and maybe the explanation of the story is not the best. It's disappointing, honestly. Compared to the first episode, which I did like, but didn't really understand how this means it's a dystopia. To me, it just seemed like something else entirely. It's like it's going weird with my browser. It's like duplicate windows or something. Right, let's fix that. It's like very strange. Not sure what some of that shit is. It's like random windows open on my PC. Maybe start Edge. No, I've got to fix this. This is weird. It's trippy because I'm seeing like empty windows. I don't know. Maybe some fucking crypto miner. Dang old crypto miner. Yeah. CPU usage is quite high, so maybe. Yeah. Don't know about that. It's quite odd in all honesty this episode, and I haven't really made any notes because it's not worth it. I think that it has its good points, but it also has plenty of bad points. It's definitely not my kind of episode. It's quite discomforting because, yeah, like at first it seems like, okay, you know where this is going. This is basically a broken dating app system gone wrong. There's probably just some crazy thing where a guy thought, oh yeah, you can figure out your dates within the first 12 hours or something. They were given Amy and Frank, that was it. And then his sip getting dry. Yeah, it's not great. As an idea, you know, I've been on dating apps before and it's been hellish of an experience. To even get into a relationship to begin with it's painful. It's often not worth it because in the end you just feel like you're just doing nothing and nothing's happening, and so you just feel like not doing anything. It makes no sense. So yeah, I never bothered in the end. I stopped a while ago, and yeah, I've been grateful ever since. And really, what I want in life, really any given moment, actually, is just like living with people who are like-minded, and that's it. Because I don't really want to live with someone who wants relationships, maybe interaction, but that's it. I think that's far better. I've already talked about that personal thing before, I think. But it's just such a bizarre episode as well for an idea. Again, I'm not sure what to add to this because it's kind of like, okay, well, this happens and they're getting paired with other dates after the time expires. It's like, expiry date? Does that mean they die? No, they just get paired with someone else, which is, yeah. That made me think it was like a dating app system, and then you see the couple claiming that they found their life through this, they found each other. All this sort of bullshit that could typically happen in this scenario. And also you see the other two meet, Amy and Frank. I keep forgetting that name. Yeah, it's awkward, sure. But man, it's also really sad as well because you find someone you get along really well with, and then you realise like, oh, we get on too well, and it's like, okay, then why hasn't it matched us? That sort of thing, and then things go wrong. It's trying to make it out that them hiding the expiry dates, that they chose not to engage, the two problems, but it didn't lead to problems before, which was interesting foreshadowing. So, it's a very bizarre episode. That wasn't it though, which is again the weird part. And they get back together and it's like as if that was a cycle, which I sort of predicted. It sort of seemed like they're going around different people to find their match, and it sort of seemed to be the case. And then they go find it, it's like, okay, I wish I was with this person again. There's also a lot of sex scenes which fucking annoyed me. Don't really need that shit. It's so unnecessary, it adds nothing. It's just awkward as well. Like, God, I hate to know how the actors feel doing that. It's just, why? God, I want to bleach my eyes after so many fucking fake sex scenes. Like, Jesus Christ. I don't care that it looks like more enjoyable. I'd rather it was a genuine one, honestly. Like, yeah, technically pornographic, but that's better. And it's a better portrayal as well, other than this fucking fake stuff. But then I'd rather just not have any to begin with. It just feels unnecessary. So much of that shit. It's also an interesting detail when Amy was paired with another woman, which I found interesting. I noticed that during the montage. Which bit of an I had a montage. And what happened? Yeah, suddenly Amy gets her match after so long, and she doesn't even get to know who the person is. And I think she asks her device because there's this device that gives them an expiry date, and this question is like a smart device, probably AI, and it tells you everything you need to know about things, but not necessarily your partners, because it's all like a test, as it was sort of shown in the beginning. And she gets her ultimate match, quote unquote. But it turns out that she's not happy with it because she wants her ultimate match to be the first guy, Frank. And eventually they find each other at the booths again and decide, you know what, fuck this. We're gonna go against the fucking grain here and just be ourselves. And actually escape this place because it seems like it's prison. And it's where they did foreshadow that it was a simulation actually when they were hanging out before, and then sort of broke up. And then after a while, this is where they get back together. Amy realises he's the one. Yeah, it's a bit odd in that sense. There's not very much explanation of what's going on exactly and how this thing works. Because I was half expecting someone to just reveal, oh, this is how the machine works, it's how it decides for you. And then it just turns out, after the scene with them meeting in the booth again and deciding to go to escape together, then it's revealed that they're actually in a simulation because Amy gets up, is confronted by a security guy, and she stops the security guy and then stops time. Which was like, okay, this is a simulation. Interesting. But I did feel that's kind of lazy as well. Because I was half expecting this to be a commentary on a dystopian dating app situation that could become real at any moment. But no, it was about a stupid fucking simulation. But then the ending confuses me. Because after they escape and the simulation thing creeps up with them, they see themselves and a bunch of other versions of themselves in this weird computer place where they're seeing a bunch of simulations and finding 999 of them had successful rebellions, but these were 1,000 simulations in total. So it seems like, okay, maybe the next scene I need to explain though before this, because they suddenly appear in a bar, and Amy's holding a phone and so is Frank, and they've matched each other, supposedly on the spot, and it says like a 98.9% match, which is interesting. But what does this mean? This is where I'm really confused and where it becomes a weak episode. Because are they in a simulation or not? Is the question here in the bar. And if it's not, then what's the point? Why show all that shit? Well, it's probably to do with the device and make an AI version of themselves somehow, but it's not even a futuristic place. They're in like an oldie bar, so it has to be an actual simulation that they're in there. So I'm just as confused by the ending than I am the thing that's going on through this episode. And yeah, I don't really like it. Again, it's a really weak episode. And I say weaker than the first one because the first ever episode was just basically trolling. And that does nothing really. Nothing happens. It's just like boring, and then the same thing happened here. Different scenarios, sure. It's about relationships rather than saving someone. But that just ends with simulation. Like, what the fuck? I honestly don't get that. Like, it makes zero sense. Why do they bother with this shit? God, I'm so disappointed in this, though. It could have been so much better. Why they went this route, I'm so confused. It's just, I don't have the words for it. I just want to forget the episode now. It's just not great. Yeah, I do not recommend it, if that's obvious enough. Really enough, I could recommend episode 1 if you're curious, but this episode I just recommend you ignore. It's actually really weak, and it could very well be a misunderstanding that I have, but it's not great. I'd much rather watch another one. If I would have known this is the route it's going, I would have skipped, but no. Yeah, fuck this episode. Let's move on. So the final topic for this to talk about is actually about a drama I was sort of doing here in Final Fantasy XIV. So what way to end it? The podcast, I mean, not my life, unfortunately. But I have to say that there's just a lot wrong with me. Because when it comes to gaming and stuff, it can be very hard to engage me. Because if the game is too short, too small, I might be like, nah, not the game for me. But if it's too big, something like this, it can feel overwhelming. And it's really no exception when I say this does feel overwhelming. And what's worrying especially is how grindy it is can often feel like it takes a toll on my mental health. So it's not like I'm playing this for any good reasons really, but it's mainly to focus. And the focus is the main part for me, rather than all the other bits in between. I do enjoy playing classes, I have fun with a lot of different things, and it's just really varied in its content, and that's why a game like this is appealing. You've got class content, you've got PvP, you've got housing, which technically you don't actually have. You just get to see others anyway, because it's a stupid system that we have here. But you get to see interiors at least, like you can make your own interior. Do you want to think what else there is? Glamour, mounts, collectibles, toy things technically, or accessories I think they're called. minions or pets. It's got so many things going for it. The biggest thing that lets it down is the grind. And when it gets especially grindy, it can feel shitty. And at some point, I plan on doing Bosja and Eureka to just see what they're like. And I want to do Bosja anyway to... Wait, no, think of Eureka to get the Podassian mount, is it? Podassian Arsenal. Yeah, horse. But I'm doing that specifically so I can get that. But it's very hard to sort of like a game where it just takes up your time on purpose. I've always struggled to come to terms with that, and it's the same in World of Warcraft, and since it's happening here, a game that is far better than World of Warcraft ever will be. It just shows that there are many things that there are many good things about the game, and it's stupid to really ignore the good things and focus on the bad. It's a foolish errand, I guess you could call it. Fool's errand? Is that what that means? Oh, okay. That's like new. That's actually it. I can't justify playing this game if I'm not enjoying it, but I am enjoying it. It's just the parts that are particularly bad are extremely bad. Like, seriously, like sometimes worse than World of Warcraft in areas. So it's pretty embarrassing in that aspect, and that's often brought a lot of shame to me. I feel like there's just embarrassment from this fact alone. And I've never been keen on that idea. So it always feels very off-putting. Like Christ, it's it's something. I don't really know what else to add, to be honest, to this. But the drama to explain. I was planning on limiting my time with this game and quitting it. I was planning on cancelling my retainers and not focusing on anything at all, other than leveling. And doing questing as well. I wanted to finish the Manville quest. But I suppose the reason I didn't quit in the end or even change my priorities is for a few reasons. I still enjoy the game. Simple as that. And after I went to bed that day, thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna actually be fine, I'm gonna enjoy my life now and just play games that I want to play. The next day I woke up thinking, wait, I don't need to log on, and so I didn't log on for quite a while, and then during my hobbies I was like, fuck this, I'm bored. And I just went on and just the boredom disappeared and I just stopped procrastinating as well. So I struggle a lot with procrastinating. That's another sort of topic, it's another thing to go into. I didn't used to struggle with it, but because of the existence of shorts and stuff, it's harder to do. So I don't know what to do about that exactly. But it's extremely frustrating. So, yeah, I don't know. But I quit anyway, I had my different goal. Wasn't planning on doing any mounts. I closed like every single file that I'd opened, every single tab. And then we'll see the next day how to reopen it. So that didn't help. So I just get filled with this extreme frustration with the elements of this game. Like, why the hell are these issues still here? I've said in suggestions that there are many issues with the game. And part of that was to do with what happened in the Savage raid I tried unsynced. Technically, one of the hardest raids ever apparently, but I don't know about that. It was a P12S, no, P8S, not P12. P12 is actually apparently easier. Or at least not doable at the moment, I can't remember which one it was. But Jesus Christ, P8S was hellish. Because the biggest component of that was difficult wasn't actually so much the mechanics, it was the players doing the mechanics. And as we know from PvE games that require good teamwork, you can almost entirely guarantee that there is PvP. And it felt like no exception with PAS. Because PAS is a piece of shit. It's not really surprising. But man, that was just hellish to go for an awful one mount. That's the only thing about this that frustrates me. Because everything in the game, for the most part, makes it pretty accessible to get mounts that you want. But for some reason, these high-end mounts, the extreme trials, which by the way you can only get totems in the savage extreme trials, but savage raids, you don't get any insurance, and the mounts are 100% drop rate, but you have to compete against that with 8 other players after wiping for like 5 fucking hours, like depending on the session. It can be like anywhere from 1 hour to 5 hours, but you have to hope that someone doesn't leave if you wipe on time. So it's just so badly designed. There's no insurance, and then people get toxic, and then suddenly the game developers are like, oh, why are you toxic? Why are they toxic? And you look into it, that's the fucking issue. And you make the game scummy, and you don't reward everyone with a mount for clearing one of the hardest fucking raids there is. That's why people are toxic. It's essentially like that meme, like, who shot that guy? I forgot the meme is from Adult Swim, wasn't it? But that is literally what the meme is. Like saying who shot him, and this guy holding the gun, obviously. Jesus. So that added to it, added to the problems, the drama. But eventually, as I said, I snapped back and came back to the game and don't really regret it. I sort of came back stronger, came back with a better idea of what to do, even rethought things, and even become a bit smarter as well. I started learning mechanics a bit better. But to explain what exactly happens in there, I think, when I decided I'd quit, I think it's actually OCD. I don't think there's really any other explanation for it, because I do have a lot of issues. I have mixed anxiety, I have autism, could possibly be burnout as well, but it's not exactly burnout. Burnout? What? Burnout. Jesus Christ. It's so worrying. Because I just want fucking... I just want an easy time when I play games. That's a big problem. When a game is giving me a hard time, especially over the course of a few weeks, or just for a long time, I start to feel very just unhappy and just not liking the game. Even though it looked like I enjoyed TF2 and Overwatch when I was playing those, I wasn't actually enjoying them that much. And the reason is, those games have very big issues. Overwatch certainly had a better balance, but it wasn't perfect, and the toxicity came with teammates who are too competitive and also enemies as well. You know, you wanted to have some fun. Girls just want to have fun. That's all they really want. But I rarely experienced that. Like TF2, you have the friendlies, which are often hilarious and amazing because you got the tools, you got the hats, so you can do anything. Personally, I love Fat Spy. It's my favourite. I played that a lot. Also did like flying Demo Man Spy, which is quite funny. You know, sometimes jump on sentries and just do a spin on them to kill them, or try to anyway. But there's so much fun to be had in that game because of the freedom you have with customization and, well, weapons and cosmetics. And also the maps as well. Like, I fucking love some of the maps in that. There are some great ones. I love the Payload Race Island one. And the Jungle Inferno update. What was the other one? I had a preset as well. I love Payload Upward, it's still good. I don't think it'll ever change. I love 2 as well. But Overwatch had very different issues. It was more to do with the players, as I said. And they often didn't like friendly players. It'd be like, okay, report this guy, even though I'm just trying to have fun, trying to be casual. And there'll be a lot of leavers as well, which is very frustrating. And because it's competitive players bleeding into casual, supposedly after leaving penalties and stuff, yeah, you get the toxic players. So it wasn't fun in that aspect at all. Whilst every other element was kind of fun. Seeing people fuck up walls and stuff, that was great. But Jesus. So yeah, I think it all comes down to OCD and just the fun factor in the game. I think there's always going to be issues in any game I play, but I know when I need to stop when I'm just not enjoying it. As simple as that. I've had that experience with various games like GTA San Andreas. I made it to Las Venturas, and then I got to like it's either the flying lessons or the blind guy missions, and then I just couldn't do it. Like, for some reason, it's too difficult, and I don't understand why. So it just, that didn't make sense. Didn't help. I had no idea really what to do there. So that bothered me quite a bit. I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? No, I think that was it for GTA San Andreas. It had awkward controls, I remember that. Jesus, controls were bad. Like, even though I had auto aim, for some reason it never really auto aimed. So that's a big problem, big impacts as well. Trying to think. What was another game? Oh yeah, Armored Core 6. One of the games I wanted to like because it got a good reputation and people liked it seemingly. Then I played it. First 2 missions, okay. Yeah, I kind of like it. I like the scale as well. That fucking giant walker was just, wow, that's incredible. I don't think I'll ever forget that. Had some difficult moments. But it was so disappointing when I got to, I think, either the 5th or 6th mission where you're in the rain and you're trying to locate these other mech guys. I can't remember the exact story. You go into like the ceiling of some place, and it was obviously a mission with the snipers on the wall. I remember that. But man, that was frustrating, and I just quit. I just didn't enjoy it. Yeah, there's limits to what I can actually do. Yeah, I really don't know. So, just really goes without saying, I suppose. It varies on what I like about a game and what I enjoy and what I hate as well. Like, equally, there are things I do hate about games, just undeniably so. And it's kind of hard to avoid that as well, because you don't know until you try the games. There are a lot of games I've tried to like in my years, but can never really do it. I don't know. There's not really much else to add to this. I've pretty much exhausted everything I could say. So, yeah, thanks for listening, I suppose. Let's do the outro, yeah. As well, I've already started. So I got into the habit of doing a single video. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me now. So thanks for listening to the podcast and see everyone another time.